It's very hard.
They all stand to say allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. We are going to start with the minutes. For to approve the minutes of the July 22nd, 2021 meeting.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Great. Now we will move to the consent agenda matters. We have many items on there. There is one, the first one that's listed on the agenda is 39 Howard Street. And we actually have some concern about that with our historian. Given that the owners are not present here at the meeting, we will table that until the next meeting. But should we put them in Zach's comments? So we have Zach's comments? Yes. So we'll take those notes and we'll add them, and they will be communicated to the homeowner. So now we'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Item 2. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Now we will go to the old business. And so the first item under old business is 87 Harrison Street.
Hi,
Good evening. State your name.
sure. It's Mark Mancuso. I'm from Direct Collective, the architecture firm, representing Allison Scott. So it seems like last time we were here, you had a concern with the roof decks and the effects on the neighbors. I understand you had a chance to go out there.
Yes. And so I would say, in looking at the coverage that is there from the backyard, which will concern probably 320 vision, 25 vision, doesn't seem to be an issue. So I think that we should be in good shape.
Okay, great.
Any other comments?
Can you just state your name for the record?
Mark Mancuso, Mancuso.
CUSO?
Oh, as in Oscar.
So the house will move, will actually, do you want to describe it really quickly?
The house will be demolished or not?
Yeah, the existing house will be demolished, and then we're building a similar, but slightly larger structure there in its place, set further back from the street, about 5 feet or so. And it'll be a 2-story structure, sort of half buried, to stay within the pyramid law. Yeah.
And so they have a demolition permit yet or
No,
not?
no, yeah,
Until after this?
yeah.
So I think given that you feel comfortable with the coverage in the back, which that was really the main concern that we had last week. You make a motion. Who would like to make a motion? Please. I can make a motion to approve 87 Harrison Street.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Sign this. Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
The next item of old business is 47 Archibald Way.
My name is Amelia Steelman. Last week, we were talking about the screening trees in the rear yard. I'm not sure if you guys were able to get there, but we did a plan. So the backyard is fairly thoroughly, what's your first name again? Amelia. So it's pretty thoroughly screened there. The neighbors to the right of the house have recently taken down a row of trees along the property line. There were like 40-foot pine trees. So since the last time we went, we saw that, and there's one place where we thought there might be a bit of a gap, and it's where the existing dogwood is. So in the summer, it's well screened, but in the winter, it won't be. So we're proposing to put a pine tree kind of behind. We have on here a white pine. And I have additional pictures. Oh, and last week, I forgot to mention, we were talking about if it backs up on the park, and it does not. Its house is behind there, it's on Jules Lane, is the neighboring
Jules
street on the other side, yes. But it is, was great, but yes.
Thanks for that.
No.
So, I mean, given that you'll be satisfying the fairness of the winter time without any time, I'd like to make a motion to approve this. Place it on its way. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Additional. Be sure that there is a screen because of the additional social. You want the rest of them? We do. Why? Item 19 Walker. Okay, August 22nd. Table 19 Walker till August 26th meeting. I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. 38 Meadowlark Lane.
Catherine Fee. We're proposing a covered porch or an existing deck. And it's a flat roof deck on top. I know the board doesn't care for those flat roofs, but this is a very heavily screened property. If you've been there, it's on the end of a dead end street. And there's also additional screening that was added recently along the property lines on the south and the west. In addition to the covered porch, we're proposing a pool house. We have a generator also that we're proposing, and some plantings in the front yard. We have a low stone retaining wall, about 2 to 2.5 feet, that runs perpendicular to Meadowlark. And it returns in line with the front of the house. And there are green giants, 10 to 12 feet proposed along the wall and the return. And then the pool fence will be a simple wire fence behind the screen. And we also have a 4-foot decorative fence along the street side with a gate to the front door and a sliding gate where the driveway is.
Where's the stone retaining wall? Where is that?
It runs parallel to the street, and it's 3.5 feet back from the property line, and then it returns in line with the face of the house, and that is to raise the grade approximately 2 feet in that area, so we create a flat yard.
I'm sorry, what's the height of this thing? 3.5 feet?
It's 2 feet,
2 feet.
2.5 tops.
Great.
Because it's a slight slope from the front of the house, about 2 feet to the street. A 2-foot grade change.
And where I see your proposed generator, so the distance you have there,
It's beyond 15 feet, which is the setback. There's an existing area for mechanicals, the pool equipment, and the condensers are there as well. And then we're going to shift the fence over the 4-foot high fence to include the generator. Guys, I'm hard on that door.
this is where we can start.
And this is the house that's over at the end of the street.
Yeah,
right?
it's on the end.
Right. Yeah. This is a. I just want to just be clear, so you're showing the existing building coverage is 10%. So your proposed total new will be 14.
Yes.
We're not adding 10 and 14.
No, we're adding 4%. It's, the porch is over an existing deck. We're expanding that deck by 5 feet, and then we have the pool house, it's pretty much additional coverage.
I'll make the 30 no, I'll make a motion for that. For the porch, deck, barbecue, pool house, outdoor shower. To approve it? Yes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah. No, not that. Upstairs to the sign. It's only on. Oh, that. 46 Palmer Terrace, please.
Out there a couple of times over the years. This is-
Good evening, you would introduce yourself and walk us through the application.
Yes, good evening, board members. My name is John Laffey. I'm the architect for the owner. We basically we took very seriously your conversation in our first meeting that we had on Zoom call. And I guess one of the first things that I would say is that we took the hard, what Val said about, thinking about creating a one-story cottage. And with that in mind, and with the comments made from the board's site visit, we have revised drawings to act as you see in front of you. Some of the things that we have done since the first application, the first presentation of this one is we removed that tower element that was problematic to everybody. Thereby also pushing the house, a lot of the issues. As a fault again. So we removed the tower element and we put these stairs internal into the house. So we basically respected the ridge line of the existing house. We didn't go any taller. One of the other things we did that was commented was I felt that the windows in the house, while they're currently like 1/1 windows, were modern for the time. I had, in the last design, I had more traditional 6/6, 6/1s and more traditional cottage style windows. So we've taken all those out. Now the house is strictly a 1/1 window configuration, sort of very much in keeping with the existing architecture of the residence. We also would say that we have reduced the size of the house a little bit. I know it's a comment about it, like it's really too big. So we took about a little over 250 feet out of it. And that's more the result of taking off the tower. I think when you went out there, you saw that the majority of the massing is still to the south of the house. So it's hidden behind, and the first part of the new house is 89 feet from the street. And when you're looking at, because of the elevation of the house and its height, it really the architectural increase in size is matched by the height that the house that's there right now. Our biggest concern was that if you're looking at the house on the north side, we got the big sweeping dome coming up to it, which we thought was very pretty. So we tried not to disturb that side of the house at all and put our addition behind that. So really, unless you walk up Palmer Terrace, like maybe 200 houses, you finally only get to see where the addition occurs. So they're, I think, masking the majority of the house. So
So it is the neighbor.
the neighbor to the south is going to be the most impacted, but that's where the driveway is. And that's one of the reasons why we have that pulled back a little bit. And again, the tower's gone there because we did want to give this the client some area for parking, and we did relocate our garage to the very corner of this site.
Also, the neighbor, I'm Peter Harcourt.
Hello, Peter.
The neighbor on the other side, actually, where the driveway is, that house is forward of mine. So back where our addition is, their house sits well forward of wherever we're at.
Thank you. We also have reduced the size of the pool to get more lawn area into the backyard. And I think we've tried to address all the board's comments and needs as best we could. And I'd like to hear your comments and thoughts. Obviously, we will be keeping the existing stock of the house contiguous. So it really we feel like we're hopeful that the addition would feel like it was never an addition. That was always one unity as a house completed like that way when it was built many years ago. That is our driver.
I think this is,
Suggestions that were made.
yeah. One of the main things we want to pass the windows, and that's always a point of discussion. But I appreciate the fact that these are literally windows. Scale conditions are very significant. And it does have the advantage, as you pointed out, that it's set so high, that when you're down actually on the street or sight line.
You're not going to see the size that's being added.
Really not.
Make a motion for 46 Palmer Terrace to be approved.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Good luck.
Forward to
Thank
seeing
you.
your beautiful house. Yeah.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Yeah, you'll start.
Okay, 22 Dennison.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'm Jean-Pierre Plejon with Green Logic. I'll bring you the card. Here's the homeowner, Mr. John Landis himself.
Good evening.
John, do you have the letters?
Yes.
It's just the one name.
So is it just Falmouth?
Yeah, this is the one. It's pretty tough. Okay, John, thank you for getting a letter from Rockland.
You're welcome.
And the replacement of where the solar panels be and them being satisfied with it. Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to work in Village of Sag Harbor.
Thank you. We have one full and then one just back. Okay, now we are going to begin new business. So 22 Lake.
Good evening, everybody.
Ask you to just pause.
Oh, sure, please. I do in my.
Yeah.
I have left in the car, I apologize. Brian Dorgan, Brian. Actually, I have one right. Too much in the bag.
Okay, Brian, maybe here.
So we're proposing a solar application at 22 Lake for the Levy Church family. It's a back application. I was just told earlier that I had to appear in front of zoning as well.
Yes.
So, but I did want to stick around and see if you had any additional questions or concerns about the project.
Which is some of your discussion. And you understand why?
Yes.
So,
Yes, I did.
And so I think from us looking at it and the neighbors, given the height of the second floor, we will give.
Right, we ran as, we actually did a drone snapshots yesterday, and there's really nothing inside. I mean, it's pretty heavy foiled with foliage in that backyard, pretty dense. Right. No, you don't really see much. It's not a large system, it's just, you know, the only place it can go, that's pretty much what it is.
Yes. So it will be interesting to see what this says.
I know it's out of the real house, I guess. Let's see. Let's see.
Okay, so you'll go to ZBA and then you'll come back and.
Okay.
Do we need a table, Jerry? Or is it? Do we need to table this or? You're gonna table it, yeah. Okay, I'll make that motion to table. 22 Lake.
All in favor?
Thank you very much.
All right, so good luck.
See you soon, hopefully.
Okay, 354 Madison Street.
I'm Sal Cicerelli, architect for the pool house at 354 Madison Street,
Sal, can you just spell your last name?
CICBRELLI.
I'm Nick Cipolla. I'm representing Delamere Building as the general contractor. I'm just here for any questions.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Valaket, work for Shadow and Son, and I'm representing the landscape plan.
So as I'm sure you know, this is a project that's been previously approved and under construction, and we're looking for changes to the pool house, pool patio, the pool itself, and relocation of the generator and pool equipment, and also the removal of
And so I think one question that I have is, given the fact that there's two front on Suffolk, currently right now, you can see right.
Right.
So do you want to walk us through how the screen will protect so that the changing in the pool and how
The screen planting was pre-approved at the last meeting, and nothing has changed.
so it's the changes are just the location of the pool and the generator.
It's the direction of the pool, is that right? Right? Instead of,
The pool just decreased.
it was smaller, it's much smaller, but it's not, wasn't it? It's not 15. Now it's-
Well, they do change the direction of the pool.
The last hearing, it was the same way, it was horizontal.
Okay,
Yeah, and then previous meetings, it was vertical.
okay, yeah,
So that's when we're in the files.
yeah. All right, good.
So. And here's all the plans for some-
We went over so much, you know.
Oh, this is right there.
Yeah.
That's.
So if the screen is good, maybe that's smaller, there's change. Yeah.
Were these boulders were approved previously, or these are?
No, that's a retaining wall that we had to put in due to the grade to the adjacent neighbors' properties. Okay, so that's not a wall, that's a row of poles.
Well, this isn't the actual property house. No, but this is this photograph of the kind of a representation. of the
Yeah, it's not the exact, really what happens is the driveway is actually at the top of the boulder and then
Yeah.
to put it, so that's, but it's an example of the height.
And it's 2.5 feet in at the closest, and we code is 2 feet. If it's closer than 2 feet, we have to get planning board approval. But if it's 2 feet, I spoke to Jim Esposito, and if it's in 2 feet or more, it doesn't need to get planning board approval, as long as it's not more than 30 inches high. So that
I wasn't
representation. Okay.
I wasn't really.
We're just looking at the material itself.
Locations and function. This is times, post office aesthetics. Question choice of these big boulders. Say, or is this, you could use a row of boulders to function as a retaining wall, but it's not a wall, it's a row of boulders.
Mhm.
And it looks kind of suburban to mine. It's just, I don't think we have rows of boulders. Yeah, correct. So, like, maybe another choice of material and.
Well, we could optionally do a poured concrete wall.
Ooh.
And stucco. I mean,
Yeah.
what other, I mean, you could answer.
How about a stone wall?
Yeah, we were just trying to get something that was gonna disappear in the landscape. Like at the top, you're not gonna see it, it will be hidden by trees on the north side, actually. Right, so they just come back.
So this is one of the trees on the property.
Yeah, so here's our property line, right here. Okay, and then these are proposed plantings that were, I believe these were approved previously, or some plantings were approved along the property line. And our boulders are simply retaining the property because our grade here is so much higher than the existing. And we actually had a complaint from the neighbor to our, I got my directions, to our northeast, that we're worried about runoff. So this was an answer to it without having to build, you know, some kind of a crazy wall, you know. So at the top, these boulders here are literally even with the top of our Belgian block on our driveway. And then it rolls off and then it will be completely hidden. So virtually, you're not even gonna see the wall. It was just an answer to us not having to, the neighbors on this side have plantings. And if we have to dig out to get, you know, 30 inches down for footing, we're gonna wind up taking out some of their trees.
So I guess this photograph, as part of your application, doesn't really represent.
No,
what
it
you're
doesn't. That's just a picture of
doing.
a rock wall.
Because this looks like if you stand it down here.
I agree.
it looks like this row of rocks.
I agree.
That's not good.
No, it's
This
not.
row of rocks is gonna be buried from 2 rows of plantings, which you can see right here. And it's running from 2 property lines.
So here's a representation of basically how it's gonna be. And that actually, to me, visually looks higher than it will actually be. There's gonna be one row of boulders. And, you know, moss will grow in between, but again, from the north side, you're not even gonna see it because it's gonna be completely hidden by this hedgerow.
So can I just ask, on this piece, which I think is similar to what you have, saying proposed border wall is 4 feet 5 inches from PL.
Property line. So and that
And so what's
literally is, as you can see, here is the driveway. So here, the property line is 2.5 feet from the boulder wall, but then we kind of curve in. So we have these plantings behind it here, then they get larger here, and we curve in. So this is like 4.5 feet from the property line.
Okay,
You know.
and I'm sorry, what is the height of the boulder?
Overall height of the boulders, you can answer that.
It's probably, the highest 30 inches.
Okay. That's good. Perfect.
That's upstairs.
All
right.
So it's really not that.
Yes.
Fits, and this whole thing is standing about 4 feet, and these rocks hold that a foot, you know, diameter, not.
Yeah.
Like, you know. it's just-
Understood.
These 2 are not.
Okay.
All right.
That helps with your feedback.
Yeah. 354 Madison Street.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, thank you.
So we want to just like put a cross out. Yes. Sure. All right. Now we're at 169 Bay Street, please.
I have copies of the plans. Would that be helpful for you guys to have?
That'd be great.
Sorry about that, I only have 3 copies. I'm Haley Lewis, attorney for the applicant, 2462 Main Street, Bridgehampton, and this is Vincent Quartararo of Q Designs, who did the design work on the project.
Can you just spell your last name, Vincent?
Yes, thank you. It's on board QUART ARARO.
Okay, maybe you could walk us through the project.
Of course. So the site is 0.172 acres, currently improved, 2-story single-family dwelling with a wood deck and a pre-existing shed. We are proposing 1,100, roughly 1,100 square feet of building coverage up from where 1,500 are allowed, and proposing just under the allowable total lot coverage of 1875. Part of our application you'll see is a proposed fence in the front yard, and we obtained ARB approval for that front yard fence in fall of last year. So we are seeking your approval for removal of the old deck to be replaced with a new 15 by 28 foot deck. With a pergola, outdoor kitchen, outdoor fireplace, an 11 by 18 pool, proposed dry wells and drainage, and a new IA system, as well as the proposed landscaping. The drainage plan might seem a little bit extensive, but this property experiences fairly severe flooding. I have pictures, but it sounds like you know what I'm talking about. So looks like a little bit of overkill, but it's actually really necessary to keep the front yard from becoming a river when there's heavy rains. And the proposed landscaping, just sort of summarizing, is fairly minimal because we're going to utilize a lot of what's already existing. Both neighbors have tall hedges running along the side of the property. We're going to beef that up a little bit with some grasses along the property line. We're using some old hydrangeas that are existing and are going to be transplanted to provide more screening around the outdoor kitchen as well as the pool. And there's also quite a bit of bamboo on the north side of the property, which provides a lot of screening, which we would keep, but install a root barrier to contain the spread of the bamboo.
I'm sorry, what are you gonna install?
A root barrier.
A root barrier.
Yeah.
Just in your place of roof.
Oh.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so and then the existing trees will remain with tree protection installed.
Is there any kind of root barrier there now, or?
I don't believe, no, there's nothing there now, so that will be installed.
Okay, and so, I understand, when an earlier proposal, you weren't really the 150 feet from the wetland.
Right, we opted to avoid the harbor committee on that, and everything that's being proposed is outside the 150 foot setback. There's gonna be the construction silt fence is gonna be just outside that 150 foot line. And that when construction is done, will be replaced with a permanent fence to serve as our pool enclosure.
And the permanent fence will be the wire?
Yeah, I think it is a wire fence.
It's a wire fence within the perimeter of the property, but then it would be a wood decorative fence on both sides of the house. Same fencing as that, actually.
And then across the back? for water.
Across the back would be a wire fence. Yeah.
Wire, sorry, okay. Um,
I think we want to see a proposed elevation, something we can see a rendering almost of it,
Which portion of the project, sorry?
of the backyard.
So we have some visuals to give a sense. We can certainly provide like more detail. You're looking for sort of a
So,
photorealistic
Just, well,
rendering.
yeah, I mean, that's the existing elevation.
This is the existing house with now proposed pergola. Again, it's a minimal style pergola, so it's on the ledge of the house with 2 posts. And then we would have the kitchen, so this is the side view of the kitchen and the side view of the fireplace. And then we do have on another detail sheet, which I don't have mounted, an elevation of the fireplace itself.
It's hard to see, but yeah.
This is not
Just
the
so
side, yeah.
Sure, this is the side view, yes.
You want to see the bigger?
This is
No, I mean, I can see it, I just gotta stick my head in it, that's, okay. This is the side of the.
That's the view looking at the house from the backyard.
From the water, from the
Yeah,
water.
from the water to the front.
Back,
From the harbor. You walk out of the.
I'm only seeing one elevation.
correct. There's
And
only one
that house
elevation.
theoretically, that's 4.
Correct.
So, I'm just saying, I don't know which of the 4.
This is the back facade of the home, which is showing the proposed improvements.
So another view would show the side of this, whether that's the side of the house, I don't know. But in this saying, this is one elevation, look at it straight on. But there's no view
side.
from.
Yeah, if you look at A2,
Okay. A2 is showing an elevation A3, or A1 to A3.
oops, take mine.
No, he's just out of order. He's out of order.
Okay, so that's that.
So A3
Right.
is showing, because there's no proposed improvements to either side of the house or front of the house, we're only showing the rear elevation. So
And
and
then within the rear elevation,
we're also showing an elevation of the outdoor kitchen and the fireplace.
A2 will show you either side of, yeah.
right.
So the page.
I have a larger set.
No, yeah, no, we
Yeah,
have
it's all
it.
good.
Yeah, they just grabbed what's in.
It's easier to use the smaller one.
Yeah.
Easier to handle.
Yes.
So I think, these would just be absolutely sure that you are the 150 feet from the wetlands. I understand you have the existing shed that is 130, that will just stay where it is, it's a pre-existing. But that will be really important.
Sure. So Harry Benz, the surveyor that we're working with, what we would do is we would have him stake this line and give us an offset so that we can get that exact. So that way we make sure that we're not. Correct. Don't want it to come back where we're not.
Well, we all know water moves. Any more questions? Back. That's what it did. Used to work. Now, that's all. They've already done work. Yeah.
In case it's not apparent from what you're looking at, this will not, this feasibly will not impact the streetscape. Everything is kind of contained behind the facade of the house and within the facade of the house, so nothing will be sticking out. And we anticipate that the existing hedges plus the grasses that we're proposing in the bamboo are substantial screening for anything going on in the backyard.
Bamboo has to be removed.
Pardon?
The bamboo has to be removed.
The bamboo is actually coming from the neighboring property, so what we want to do is we want to stop it where it is.
That's an different bamboo.
Okay.
It's a 3 foot deep.
So it has nothing to
barrier.
do with on your property, correct?
Yeah,
It's
I
right
think it
now, it's coming
originates-
up to the gravel walks, but it's coming from the neighboring property, so we want to stop it in the tracks with bamboo.
Because we did just pass a new resolution within the last couple of months that any job that has a building permit issued and that has bamboo on it, the bamboo has to be removed correctly.
So knowing that, I would say if some of the neighbors came onto your property line, you're gonna want to do the work to get it off your property line and then put that wall.
Okay, so we'll
that
make
root
note
wall.
to put the root barrier 6 inches within the property line instead of at that gravel walk as of now.
And then whatever bamboo is on the property, if there is,
Remove the
it has to be
rhizomes.
removed correctly, yes. And in our code, it gives a full way to get.
Dig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot. It's a lot.
It spreads by rhizome, so
Yeah.
we shall do that.
Okay.
I'll make a motion for 169 Bay Street.
Second.
All in favor? We'll strike these notes on here for the. Great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for
Good
your
work.
time.
Thank you. Thanks for making the changes.
You never thought you'd know so much about bamboo, right?
Yeah,
Thank you all.
Now,
You're not thinking that this side.
right there. That's where you're right.
I know, I just wanted, I was ready. Well,
thank you so
thank you very
much.
much.
Yeah.
It's like a. Yeah. It's crazy. There's a guy over there.
No. Oh my gosh.
It was 4 years.
So is that good, just the one set?
It was 4 years.
Yeah.
It's third party. Everything's done.
All right, Edie.
Second.
Okay, let's go. with this. I want that. I need this. Okay, we are now going to close the new business and open the discussion portion. We are going to start with the item on 279 Main Street.
Hi, you were, my name is Katie Frank, I'm here on behalf of Creekwood PC.
Sorry, Kate, what's your last name?
Frank,
Frank. Hey, Kate, if you want to walk us through your proposal.
Sure. So the owner is proposing to enclose the existing back covered porch. It is a contributing building, however, it's not a contributing part of the building. It's not visible from the street. And the applicant is proposing to do this in order to have more living space and install a handicap accessible bathroom on the first floor.
And so the enclosed porch is one piece, but the handicap bathroom is separate.
It will be inside
Within that porch area.
Correct.
Okay, so
Yes, we're not increasing the footprint.
you're keeping the exact same.
Yeah, it's just enclosed.
Okay. Yeah, it's a porch, right?
Right now it's a covered porch.
The rear porch. Yes, in the back. And it's going to be converted to.
It'll just be
room.
closed in, correct, living space.
That's a check.
It already, that already exists. So
Yeah,
right
so
now it's
basically-
rotting. It's actually kind of a safety hazard at the moment, so it needs to be.
Great. Yeah.
Basically, you're just enclosing an area and lives.
Exactly.
Putting new gutters on, new PVC and roof.
Yes.
How close is the neighbors?
The neighbors, I mean, those are small lots over there, but it's heavily vegetated. You cannot see through the green. So I don't think it's an issue. We can supply photographs that depict that boundary line at our hearing if the board is concerned.
We'll probably want to see that because house. As I'm sure you're aware, the board has everything that a neighboring property can see.
Yes.
Typically, it would be what falls into the public way. What you can see from Main Street, obviously, you can't see this. But this board jurisdiction extends to what can be seen from home as well. So making sure, because visually, close to this porch, will make visual hints, even though you're improving the addition, just aesthetically, close to that story.
Sure. On the,
So, I think that's pretty.
yes, on the south side, that's, our neighbor is there's a tall fence, I think it's about a 6-foot fence, and there's a driveway there. And then the property north that is closer to where that the porch would be, there's a fence and a lot of vegetation. So it's very hard. I can't see through to the neighbor's lot when I go to the property.
So do you just provide
Photographs, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Is this gonna be living space or just screened-in porch?
Living space, yes, with a bathroom. Yeah, there's a family member that has a physical disability, so we're trying to, it'll be hard to go up and down the stairs, so we want to install the bathroom. It just takes up a little more space at being ADA compliant, so that's what we're trying to get the extra living space.
Sounds like a good plan. Yeah. Okay, so we'll see you when you come back and provide those photos.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Kate.
Two for one.
You can do this. Okay, 17 Wolford Lane.
Okay, so I'm also here on behalf of the owner of 17 Wolford Lane. He also owns the neighboring property. What he's looking to do is demolish the house and leave it as open space. It'd be less pollution, less runoff. The house is, you can see photos of it. It's definitely not a contributing building. It's not adding anything aesthetically to the community. However,
A couple of years.
Yeah.
So there's no proposal to build.
no proposals to build. He was not just some open green space to look at.
So, okay, can-
I'm happy with green space.
So this is just a discussion. Yeah, prayer. I mean, I'm open to this.
Okay, thank you, Board.
So come on back.
Thank you.
next time, we'll see you on the 20.
You're out here.
Yeah, right. Maybe says are gonna be happy. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay,
Go do
25
something.
25 Liberty.
Hi.
No.
What, it's morning? Or
No,
just not for the-
CBA, not here.
Okay, great.
Just tell us your name.
Sure, my name's Ralph City. It's been over maybe 2.5 years since I was here last. And a couple of you were still here, so you might remember this property. The reason why I'm here is I have gone down at least a couple other routes with the development plans. And now I'm going down a route which is essentially to expand upon the existing house. It's, it's a pretty complicated property. There's gonna be a long design process. So I figured why not come here at least to try to see if we could, if I could get some input from you on various items and try to cut down on the iterative process that has happened. It's typical, just use more efficient use of your time as well as my time. So not getting into major detail because I don't have a plan, anything to share with you now, but I have a general direction and we'll get to that in a minute. I thought it would be helpful for to go through a little bit of background on the property, a little bit about what I've done for the past 2.5 years, and then get into the heart of it. Okay, 25 Liberty Street. It's a fairly large property. It's on the corner of Liberty and Hempstead. It's 0.4 of an acre. And interestingly enough, it was 2 lots at one time. It has a bit of a slope to it, about 10 feet from the rear of the property, which is furthest from Hempstead going down to the corner. And it has a principal residence that's contributing. It has a little shed, 5x4 that's contributing, and a couple of driveways that basically just happened over the past probably 100 and some years. They kind of just created. Yeah, it was an outhouse, I guess, at one time. As far as the zoning conformance today, you might look at I attached a survey which has the building envelope of principal and accessory structures. Somehow the north arrow got lost, so it's facing the upper right-hand corner if you want to get the bearings. I call the Hempstead side, the Hempstead, yes. The Hempstead Street frontage is probably, it's not due north, but it's more north. Liberty Street would be the eastern side of the street. And then opposite that would be south.
What are you planning to do?
Sorry?
What are you planning to do?
I will tell you.
That's the most important.
I know
$1
that's the gist.
Yeah, that's what we're.
Yeah, okay. What I'm trying to get to though, because some of this is a buildup, is that, the existing house, for instance, on the first page is
there's 4 different types of siding, there's 3 different types of windows, there's 3 different types of foundations. So I want to get some sense for, okay, what should I tell the architect in terms of how we go about doing this? But I'll try to be more brief then. What I have done, at least, I'm going to skip over some of the other stuff about the elements of the house. You'll have to take a look at that at your leisure. But 2.5 years ago, I came to the board asking to do something a little unorthodox. Take the existing house, make it an accessory structure, and build a new house. And I didn't have anything really well developed. The plan was a little hard to understand. Mr. Studenroth and Mr. Brandt came to the property in December of 2018. And during that visit, I don't know if you remember this conversation, Mr. Brandt said, "You thought about a subdivision?" And my reaction was sort of like, "Are you serious?" And he goes, yeah. And the more I thought about it, I was working with Brian DeSessa at the time, and we said, it really makes sense. This used to be 2 lots. There was a lot facing Hempstead. It was 1/4 acre, and the house was, why it's 170 feet off the corner is because it was a second lot. 25 foot, and there was never anything built in 100 and some years of maps I was able to find on that corner. Okay, so I spent a whole year and a lot of money and time going down that path. Went to the planning board in November of 2019, and their reaction was kind of like my reaction when I first sort of familiar with that, or at least proposed. I wasn't at that meeting, so I just had to read the transcript. But the bottom line was they felt it was, and again, the rationale was if you subdivide it, you end up with 2 smaller lots, much more consistent with historic districts. You end up with 2 smaller houses. And it seemed to me like Tony was on to something. So I said, all right. So I spent a lot of time and money going down that path. The planning board was not very comfortable. They said it's a very big challenge because of the 20,000 square foot minimum. They said you got Suffolk County Board of Health that has a 1/2 acre minimum for your septic, and some other comments like there's already large houses. So what? I'm trying to avoid a large house, but I guess they were not sensitive to that. So I decided I wasn't going to go fight this one. I understand the precedent. You give somebody a subdivision on a 0.4 acre lot, everybody and their brothers will be lining up looking for a subdivision. My feeling is that this has some unique characteristics, and if you thought about what the alternatives are, you might want to think about that. But again, sometimes
So you're not looking to do that?
no, I'm not.
Okay,
That's not.
okay,
So on July 12th or 20th of this year, I went to the zoning board with the original plan, which was the conversion. There were really only 1 variance I needed. 6 of them were pre-existing for the old house. When you convert it from a principal to an accessory, you trigger all kinds of front yard setbacks and size and height and all those kinds of things. But the proposed plan complied with lot coverage, building coverage, GFA, setbacks, pyramid, everything. Their feedback was they're concerned about setting a precedent. This one, I can tell you that there's only 2 or 3 houses that if you really truly say, here are the characteristics that could possibly do the same thing, but I get it. They didn't go through the analysis of the village as much as I have. They felt a lot would be overdeveloped because you have a new house, you have an existing fairly small house that would have been maybe tweaked a bit. And then I put a pool in the garage. So
wait, I just want to, what, okay, keeping the 2 lots together, forget that.
I'm keeping the 2 lots
Okay, so
together.
now you are trying to say you're going to take the current house and that's not going to be the principal?
No, what I'm saying is that I went to the zoning board about 3 weeks ago.
Correct.
And they weren't.
And I said, I presented that and they were very, not very, I would say somewhat unfavorable in terms of their response. And
So are you coming to test us on the same proposal?
no, I'm not.
Okay, so
I
then forget that.
forget that.
So now
What I think is
what
important, what I'm doing is setting the stage. Why am I doing all this? Because I've been through 2.5 years of things.
I was wondering what happened.
Yeah, and so the comment in the zoning board meeting was, develop a plan that doesn't have any variances, that has, uses the existing structure as a potentially like a connector, that's a small scale connector, and then an addition. And what's important to understand is, going back to that survey I've included, is what the building envelope is. Right now, I'm 7.2 feet from the front property line, not going forward. I don't meet the rear yard setback on the south side. I'm already in non-compliance. I've got 1.7 feet to go rearward on the house before I'm in zoning violation. So I can only go one way, and it's going towards Hempstead. So there would be a structure, the existing structure would be on the left-hand side, there'd be a connector, and then there's gonna be an addition. The thing about it is that, the good news is that because the existing house is only 7 feet off the property line, it is prominent. It's sitting right there on the curb. And the other portion would be probably 23 feet back from the property line. So there'd be a good 13 or 16 feet or so, separation from one front elevation to the new front elevation. So that's the general direction that I'm going with
The
this.
board is gonna look at the scale and mass of what you're
Yes, yes.
to respect the house, what's existing, and also to leave it as the prominent, and of course, as you're saying, it's so close to the street, it's hard to miss it. So it is the most prominent aspect. So what you would be building, set for the back along the street, and off to the side, go to the north, or next.
Right.
And if that, and oftentimes, if you have a tall enough house, it's fortunate, if you had a little one-story cottage,
Right.
it would be more difficult for you to build something that's.
Right.
You know.
It's still not,
You have
you
a
know,
nice height.
there's still gonna be some, well, at least my expectation is there's gonna be some differential in the current ridge height in the proposed, not a huge
That's
amount.
where you're gonna have to finesse your way. Because
Yeah.
I mean, that's typically, and this is very common, whether you're physically attached to your addition or separating it with some sort of like,
Right.
even so, the height of what you're proposing, is going to have to
It's good.
respect what's
Yes.
there, and then.
I think the proportions of the various elements, the distances, that's all gonna help. But keep in mind that the current house, and the expectation that I have is the finished floor height is the same throughout the addition.
However, since it slopes down.
I understand.
For them,
It does.
and so if you want to get greater height in what you're building, one way to approach it would be to take advantage of the slope and not need your first floor to be at some level because you gain a foot.
You're right.
This is just a suggestion.
I think that there's a lot of resistance to having stairs on the first floor. You know, I've got family members and whatnot that have use walkers and wheelchairs, and you know, now we have to put ramps in. So but you're right, it makes it challenging. Hey, if I put 2 stairs in, it's a slam dunk, but not gonna go that way.
Well, it's an old house, so you can make the floor slope.
It already is slow. Trust me.
I'm sure.
So,
Okay, so that's-
but I expect, I know there was a recent application. I know there are 5-foot differential between the ridge heights. That was, I'm not sure that house, the existing house was as tall as mine. But we're going through everything we can do to deal with 7-foot maybe 7.5 foot ceiling heights on the first floor, less than 7 foot on the second floor. So the connector is the transition that allows you to do different things, because I can't build to those things and meet New York State building code. I mean, nor would I, not at 6'8" for a floor to ceiling. One of the other things is the National Register says that this is a full Victorian, and I was trying to figure out what's Victorian about it. Can you help me out with that?
It's really just,
It's full.
when it was built, yeah, it's really more of a construction date.
Yeah,
thing.
it's a plain
This is
farm
such
house.
a, nothing about the plain vernacular.
No, there's nothing ornate.
We're all sort of grasping, describe it. So to work it up as a full Victorian, have it dignifies.
Yeah, I guess, but,
That's a catch-all.
yeah, no, I understand. I was just wanted to make sure I didn't have to
You're not missing.
get out the field guide to architecture and look at the fancy porch railings, but, but it should be complementary. I mean, I think that's the point. I plan to incorporate most of this structure, not eliminate much of it. But there won't be any variances, because I'm not going back to the zoning board. I actually think it could be, you might like it better if I had variances, but we'll see. Because there's things you can do if you could just push some things back here and there. And
So can I just ask, the goal that you are trying to accomplish is to add living space, add
yes,
bedrooms, add
yes.
what?
I mean,
You're
to
gonna
be
add
honest,
addition.
it's a large lot.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so the addition is not gonna be small. Well, that's what I was
But
trying.
you know,
But
yeah,
scale.
Yes.
yeah.
Also, because it's gonna be very visible from the street.
Yeah.
Can you say
The
about-
scale of that can't, and to comply guidelines, so can't overwhelm the existing.
Well, that's gonna be the design challenge,
There you go.
because you're right, we're trying to get it so that it can be looks like it's gonna be a balance.
Is it kind of like the one on Glover?
32 Glover,
Yeah, right?
yeah,
That kind of idea, yeah. And
You know,
then
it-
and then I also, I see the one on Jermaine. I mean, when you say that you're going to do the little, it's like a little connect.
Yeah.
And then one on Hamilton, right? They connected two houses together.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was a
And
little
that
different.
also,
Yeah,
but
but
I
they
mean,
have
the two
connected.
houses were big, but definitely the one on Glover is what I'm thinking.
Yes.
This is like,
And this is also a neighborhood of modest housing.
right,
So
which Glover is not.
for not only
The one that
the
was there.
design solution for the house itself, but the context of that, in that neighborhood.
Yes,
So you probably want to see like, the street.
oh, yeah,
Love
definitely.
is smallish houses. across the
And
street.
back, right, no, back, put it back.
Well, you
so
can
that-
only put it back 30 feet from the rear property line, and I have 2 rear property lines, because I'm on the corner.
So you got your work back.
As back as you, as far back as you can.
Yeah, I
Go for it.
that's where the variance stuff could help out, because I could potentially move it back a little further.
No,
What do you,
we see the plan.
what's the feeling of, this is, I know that shed is, that curvy is cute and everything like that, but what's everybody's thoughts? Do I keep it? Do I move it?
Is it
Right.
interesting?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
Offhand,
It's in there.
I would,
It's a
I
contributing
think
purpose,
it's,
so.
I think it's okay to move it on the property.
It's 3.5 feet from the property line right now.
That's all right.
Back.
You can leave it where it is.
Would you be okay if I did move it?
If you needed to move it, it's not, then you're gonna have to ask for variance.
Not really.
Why are you gonna move it?
I'm gonna move it away enough, far enough from, so it's not, right now, it's the non-conforming setback to the rear property line. Or to the
It's
property line.
difficult for this board to answer anything like that, that may be misunderstood.
Just as long as it's safe.
As a suggestion.
Yeah, that's-
I think whatever you're putting together needs to be seen. you
Okay.
know?
I'm gonna save it. I'll
Saving
just-
it is.
I would like to move it because I think it's right now, it's sort of, a little awkward.
Well, it comes from a hole in the ground. so you have to hit the hole.
I don't think that hole's there anymore.
I'd be surprised, right? It's probably made into it. You have to-
And then, okay, just some other minor things. Right now it's got six windows. I'd like to do something simpler. It seems the house is simple, it should be more like two
Now,
or
let's
three.
get back to the need to respect what's their part.
Yes.
So if we're,
But those windows are all replacement windows and I plan to replace them. There's no original windows in this house.
well, that's one of our specialties. So we're gonna want to stage a site visit.
Another site.
Yeah, you were there.
I know, but there's so many houses.
It's a while ago. so-
Yeah.
You keep
I don't
talking,
remember.
Tony, that's a
But
while.
we should be able to tell if there are some incident damage to you, if there are some window sashes that have some age history to them. And others don't match all the rest of it, then we'd be looking for a prototype to work with,
Yeah.
rather than just to come up with this is what I like better, because that's not.
I thought it was consistent with all the images I saw about this full Victorian, they seem to have simpler windows.
Well, we're not gonna get stuck on that.
Okay.
We're just gonna work with the building. And we should be able to help on that front.
Okay.
So I would say if you come back with more proposals.
Oh, yeah.
Now, like,
Look at it,
yeah.
it'd be really helpful and
Okay.
look forward to having a discussion.
And, but thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It does help to have
I
that.
think it's all very interesting, I like.
Yeah, I was disappointed that some of the, quite frankly, I thought the subdivision was the way to go. I really did, but that's
Interesting.
too much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll make a motion that's the word.
Second.
I'll leave this meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Zach.
Oh,
Yeah.
what did I tell you about the? Am I making that up?
I know.
I had my hopes up.
But it's interesting. I mean, it's, I have to tell you, it's interesting to me because
And,
it's- you just kind of want to, I just feel. when it goes back, it's like to say, I do that. So look at that. Thank you, Zach. Good to see you.
Yep.
So I'm scheduled on the 22nd to